This chapter focused mainly on CP9 and really the power level system that they have, and although it's not a be-all, end-all, it gives you a good guideline as to who stands where.
One Piece, chapter 378, power level.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and power level ridden tale of One Piece. Now, our last chapter saw us starting out Volume 40, and of course, really just all hell breaking loose from several different fronts, and kind of just a, hey, we're storming the castle type of deal, right? And wound up, kind of leaving off on that note on Zoro, and of course, with Kokoro driving the Rocket Man, and the rest of the Straw Hats gonna go bust through those gates and hopefully join up with Luffy. But anyway, that's where things left off. This chapter takes a bit of a different turn, whereas the majority of it actually takes place, inside the building. And it winds up being that the CP9 members, of course, that we know that we originally were introduced to, being Lucci and Kalifa, Kaku, and Blueno, they have kind of been reunited with after 5 years with the other members of CP9, which is Fukuro and God, I forget the other one's name is for the life of me now. Kumadori and Jabra, that's what it is. Sorry. And then, of course, the director Spandam, the Spandex Condom Man. But anyway, the majority of the chapter, again, it takes place with them. They kind of come in and they're reunited. You can tell that that they don't get along. A lot of them don't get along. I'm presuming that Lucci and Kaku, Blueno, and Kalifa get along because, of course, they've been undercover for 5 years, and they've either grudgingly admitted that, hey, we got our differences, but we have to work together, or maybe they actually do kind of work better with each other, and that's why they were sent to begin with. I don't know. But when they wind up coming in almost immediately, it's so funny because the whole thread throughout this thing, the comedy part for me, is that anytime Spandam, who just looks like a little weasel, says anything to Kalifa, even like hello or says her name, she's like, sexual harassment. And he's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And then she's like, director, and he goes, yes. And she goes, sexual harassment. And he's like, what, for just being alive? So I don't know if he's like messed with her before or what, or she just, he rubs her the wrong way, literally, figuratively, I don't know. But anyway, what we do find out in this chapter is that because Kalifa goes in, and almost immediately after they kind of all start getting into it a little bit with a little bit of jaw jabbing as far as kind of just making fun of each other and what have you, she goes and winds up actually just kicking Fukuro right in the head, and then everybody else follows suit. Blueno goes and gets a hit in. Lucci's the last one to hit. Kaku gets one in. Anyway, we wind up finding out what I thought was pretty important, at least for this portion of the series, is that he has this way of Tiwa's power level measurement, and basically what it is that he came up with this system to be able to measure your power, like with a numeric value. And he says if the average person with a weapon, the normal human with a weapon, is a power level of 10, that's what these power levels are based off of. So then he goes, and so obviously them coming in there, and that was like their test, is to, I guess, probably hit him as hard as they could, and then he would be able to devise this system off of there. So anyway, we wind up finding out that out of the 4 that we know of, Kalifa has a power level of 630. She's sexy and she's powerful. And Blueno has a power level of 820. Kaku has a power level of 2200. So we're talking like 4 times as strong as Kalifa for Kaku. And Lucci's at a solid 4,000. So you're thinking, okay, he's the man. He's the guy to beat. And then he winds up going and showing actually the rankings of everybody on here that we wind up seeing, so you can so you can get an idea of the seven that actually, I guess, count. And then we wind up seeing Jabra and Kaku, because Kaku's at 2200 and Jabra's 2180, and Jabra's all pissed off. He's like, how come Kaku's power level's higher than me, And Fukuro's like, hey, listen, he's gotten stronger, It is what it is. And Spandam's like, these stupid power levels you guys made up with. They basically started this, back when this unit was formed or whatever, and as a basic measurement, of power and what have you. But Spandam makes a good point for once. He's just like, you know what? Basically, 500 is like superhuman. You know what I mean? So you're all above that, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's like a millionaire going and being worried about, like, a couple of pennies. If you got millions, don't worry about it. I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for it, but basically, like, you're already wealthy in the sense of that you have more than superhuman power So who really cares if somebody's got 2180 and somebody's got 2200? And obviously it's just a competition amongst them because it's a prideful thing, and of course it's just one of those, you know, wants to be the strongest, wants to be known as the best. But anyway, I still thought it was nice they described the power levels, and then Fukuro was like, director has a power level of 9. So this dude with a weapon, or this dude has less power than an average human with a weapon, like, you know, sword or a stick or whatever in hand. And he's like, that's why I'm the director, though. It doesn't matter. I don't need to have any of that. You know, I have this special sword too and everything. It's like, oh God, you know. But I thought it was nice because it gives you a bit of a jumping off point of where they are at power level wise. Now I have no idea where that would match up if there's you know, if they could test like the Straw Hats to see where they are power wise. But I thought it was a nice barometer for getting an idea of these characters, integrating them in with each other, and of course their power levels. But you can tell that a lot of them do not like each other. Jabra winds up saying, well, I'm still more powerful than you, Kaku, because I have my devil fruit, right? And Kaku's like, dude, I don't even care. I'm not even into, like, who's stronger. We're not fighting, whatever. And I think Lucci tells him to shut up or something along those lines, you know, kind of degrades him. And then they go, and he's like, oh, you shut up, you cheetah beast, whatever the hell he is. And anyway, and then you kind of see the shadow of both of them just sort of like, just, you know, looking to go at it with each other. And the director tells him, you know, everybody calm the fuck down, right? But we wind up seeing, briefly, Luffy as he's kind of just running through everybody. And Luffy is, he's come up with, it looks like a new move, the volcano. Because they're like, where is he? Where's the Straw Hat? And they're like, beneath us. And then all of a sudden, just like something explodes upward. And there's like a building falling down. And it looks like a rock smashes Luffy in the head. Winds up nailing him. But there's debris falling everywhere. Luffy's pulling out his Gatling gun. Basically just complete and total utter carnage. They cannot stop the Straw Hat. And that's really kind of what that winds up coming to over here. But we also wind up seeing a little bit of a brief intro. Well, not a brief intro. They've already been introduced, but they're brought in obviously to see director Spandam. Is Franky and Robin, and Robin's just kind of cool and calm and, you know, just sexy, right? And Franky's all chained up and burly and everything like that. And as soon as he sees Spandam, and Spandam's like, oh yeah, you survived that, you know, that obviously the thing with the train, you know, when he tried to stop it with his body 8 years ago in this net, Cutty Flam. And Franky just doesn't even hesitate. He's just like, just fucking bites onto his head, man. I love it. And he did that to a guard a couple of chapters ago too, when he got off the puffing tom. So I was laughing. I thought that was great, you know, just the way it was done, you know. But they introduced them obviously, you know, as Franky, Cutty Flam, the so-and-so, the one who assaulted government official 8 years ago, and Nico Robin, the one who you know, sunk at a Navy ship or a Marine ship 20 years ago at Ohara. And then obviously that's going to tie into that whole Demons of Ohara thing and whatnot. So I don't know if it maybe where she came from, that particular clan or tribe or village or something like that had some sort of power that, I don't know what the deal is, and I'm hoping that we'll find out sometime soon, maybe in the form of some kind of flashback or at least an explanation, because for me right now, it's obviously a mystery, and it's something that I'd like to know about too. So, but anyway, at the end of the chapter, after we see kind of Luffy just mowing through people and just destroying everybody, and then of course is after the Franky thing, we see Luffy. He's just destroying, going right through, just cutting through everybody. Then we wind up going, and they're trying to get, you know, some of the forward soldiers, I guess the soldiers and whatnot, are trying to go and actually get in touch with, like, headquarters, the director, to get, what are we supposed to do now? We can't stop him. They can't get in touch with him, so they wind up going, and they wind up talking to, and kind of in his place asking this. He's the Chief Justice of Enies Lobby, the three-headed Baskerville, right? And he's this big dude, because you wind up seeing a perspective shot of him standing up and towering over people, but he's got 3 heads, obviously, and it's funny because none of them agree. One says one thing, one says another. The middle one's just like, ugh. And then they kind of wind up grudgingly agree to meet in the middle, and they're like, all right. They're like, you know what, we'll compromise and give him the death penalty. And they're like, what? Chief Justice, your orders? And then you can see, obviously, that perspective shot of how much bigger he is than everybody else. So he looks like another one of those just amazingly huge people. But anyway, all in all, a good chapter in the sense that we didn't see a lot of the Straw Hats or kind of the whole bombardment storming the castle, but it took away from it in a good way, and we learned more about the CP9 members and, of course, their power levels. And actually, that translates into, or segues into very well, my chapter question. My chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is, number one, you know, what are your thoughts on the power leveling system and their way of being able to measure that? And then, of course, you know, I guess the second part of that loaded question would be, what is your favorite, or who is your favorite, if you have one, CP9 member? And it doesn't even have to be based on the power levels. I mean, I think Kalifa is sexy, and I think her Thorn Whip is cool. You know, she make me thorny. Sorry. Anyway, that was bad. And just something about her, I think, is just sort of has this sexy secretary look and everything like that. So that coupled with the Thorn Whip, which I think is cool, and then of course her knowing the powers. I don't give a shit if she's the weakest of the CP9 members. She's probably my favorite. Anyway, I'd like to know what your favorite is, though, and what your thoughts are on the power level. Leave the answer to those questions in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
You need to follow me on my other channels, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, too.